Yay. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you're here and you add this to your calendar. Makes me and my heart so happy. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about understanding ourselves and how we can be better for ourselves, first and foremost, as well as our students and all those other people that linger around in our lives that we have to pay attention to as well. The title of our presentation today is Grounded and Growing: Mindfulness, Reflective, and Care for the Modern Educator and Person as a Whole. I'm Dr. Palomino, and I wanted to share this quote with you first. To the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world. And that's one of my top, top tier quotes because we often go and move forward a lot and we forget the impact we may leave in individuals' lives, but as well as how we treat ourselves is most important, right? So I just wanted to share that with you to begin because that's just always near and dear to my heart. A little bit about me. Clearly, I'm a college professor, and I have over 20 years of teaching experience, including more than a decade in higher education. I'm passionate about nurturing growth in both my students and colleagues through humanistic compassion and teaching practices. As a dedicated advocate of mindfulness, I enjoy integrating reflective care into my work with educators and just all humans, period, aiming to build spaces where professionalism and wellness coexist. I love helping educators, everybody. Me and trees, like I hang out with trees, so that says a lot there. Reconnect with your purpose and cultivate habits that support both personal and professional longevity. So as we get through this, I want to show you this set. So this is a rough sketch of, in my mind, of us on an everyday basis. And within that, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in here that we don't really pay attention to. So as I created this presentation, I made sure to plant everything inside of that little confusion motion we have going on up here. And to like give that visual demonstration of how we have so much going on that we don't really pay attention to because sometimes it's smaller than what we can visually see. So that's the premise behind this particular presentation. When you see it, it'll zoom in, and please hold on to your seats because this is Prezi. So there's a lot of movement in here. With that being said, I would love for each of you to either pull up a Word document or piece, I'm a little old school, piece of paper and pencil, and keep that near you, as well as you're going to need your cell phone at some point because you're going to have to look up a few things. And so we're a little interactive. When I say we, me, myself, and I like to get things moving and just really have that call and response era, right? So let us begin. So our objectives for this presentation today will explore the connection between reflective practices, self-care, and mindful presence within our lives and roles as educators. The objectives, by the end of this presentation, you will identify the connections between mindfulness, reflection, and effective teaching, apply simple self-care and grounding strategies to reduce stress and increase presence, create a personal reflection routine to support professional growth and well-being. Ideally, that's it. And again, setting this up for my colleagues to make sure we stay on task. So you can't pour from an empty cup, right? They always tell you, no, you can't do that. You have to fill your cup and take care of yourself first. I applaud that and I support that. However, in that, how do you fill your cup? How do you keep that going without losing what you have in there, right? So how do you know your cup doesn't have leaks and things like that? So the demands of academia can lead to burnout, disconnection and compassion, fatigue. Reflection and mindfulness promote resilience, clarity, and emotional regulation. And educators who care for themselves are better able to care for others. That's why this matters. That's why they tell you, in general, you can't pour from an empty cup. And here is some of the research there for us. I will tell you that in that, we don't always recognize what we should do. So a great friend of mine once shared with me, you need to pour from your saucer. And when I first heard it, I was like, oh yeah, that's cute. But then I started to process that more. That means my cup is full for me and everything that comes over I can share that with others. Because when you pour from your cup, you exhaust yourself. And that's one thing we have to stop doing because historically we've been taught, depending on, where I would say generationally, it depends. But for the majority of us, we were taught, you got to go, 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 give, give, give. You can rest later, right? Well, I want to rest now because I want to continue to go, go, go and give, give, give for the duration, if not longer. I just don't want to burn out. And that's what happens. So if anybody ever asks, you're just pouring from your saucer. And once the saucer's done, it's like, okay, hold on. Let me pour back into myself so I could give you my overflow. Mm-mm. So, understanding self-reflection, right? What is this all about? How do we do this? Um, in this, it started to say the mind wanders, right? So it does. And I don't know how many of us are, I would say over the age of 35. I think many of us, 35 and up, I'll say that group. But I don't know if that's a kind of two generations there, but I would say we definitely don't understand some of the things that happen because we've been taught to just go, go, go. So in that self-reflection, I don't know if it's been a major point in many people's lives, but it needs to be now, which is why I feel we're doing this today because it's something we do need to start incorporating into our routines. So, self reflection is conscious thinking and consideration of our beliefs, values, and experiences, right? And here's a circle of life when it comes to self reflection and what happens, right? Once you're able to self reflect and really examine certain things within yourself, your actions, your why, it helps you remain aligned it helps us remain aligned with our life purpose and teaching philosophy. Life philosophy at that encourages professional insight and intentional decision making, supports adaptive teaching by helping us learn from both successes and challenges. And then it builds emotional intelligence and empathy through deeper awareness of self and others. So to have that is phenomenal because once we have that, we then model and demonstrate that to those that are around us, which then it branches off to them and it creates this amazing thing moving forward for all those involved. So we're going to think about things. Let's think about a moment in your recent teaching that stood out. And why did it matter to you? So this is where that call and respond comes in and that beautiful chat. So in this, I want you to think about that. Now, mind you, that put the computer here for a reason because many, if not all of our classes are online. So that's a different approach to teaching all in itself. So when you think about that, how do you still have those monumental moments in the virtual classroom, thus the laptop, that allow us to really stand out as those professors, instructors to our students that don't get this often, right? That face to face. So think about a recent moment in your teaching that really stood out and why did that matter to you? And then go ahead and put that in the chat if you don't mind. I can share one of mine while you guys are doing that. Um, I had a class that was starting, and you know how our classes start, and you get it. Your it opens on Friday, so you get in there Friday night. Sorry, I had to do that. And you prepare your class and you do all your posts and things like that. And I was doing that, and I happened to check my email, which it's on my to-do to get better at. And one of the students that was in the class, because the class list doesn't always drop right away for us. It drops for the students, they get to see who it is. One of the students was in there, sent me this beautiful email about, I've been so stressed and it's been so much in my life recently of what I'm going through. But when I opened my class and I saw your name, it really allowed me to just take a deep breath and release all that stress and tension. So now I'm reading this email crying, like the ugly sob with the cry. And I'm just like, wow, those are those moments that it's like, wow, you don't realize an impact you have for students because you're not face to face with them, but you leave something through your discussion question conversations, and those extended, replies and things like that. So those types of things really make a difference in there. And so that was one of my moments recently. Oh, we have a couple here. I saw that. Okay, so Heather, I was told I inspired not only the student, but their wife and children. Oh, oh, I love that. That is awesome. Thank you for sharing. Jessica, I recently met with a doctoral student that was not grasping the realistic, logical component of implementing their project. I met with them, talked them through their ideas, and and do you know how impactful that is to be able to have that one-on-one with them, Jessica? Oh, that's awesome. Donna has, and forgive me, we're all my doctors, but I want us to be a little bit informal here today. Um, Official students in many months, but teaching my kids things all the time, man, that's the best because they're a demonstration of you when they're out in these crazy streets. Matters to me because I want them to have info that I did not have until later in life and pass on the wisdom, even though they did. They don't appreciate it now. Listen, my oldest son is 28, Donna. My youngest is 26, going on 27. And I'm barely starting to see those little nuggets I've been dropping in their life since they were, I don't know, born. So just seed time and harvest on that one, because that's one of those long ones that take forever, but they get it. They get it, especially when they move out on their own and they're using their own money, then it really hits home. So you're good, Donna. You're good. I got you with that. Um, is that Logan Todd? She said, I always say a lot of our jobs is infusing hope and confidence into our students. Absolutely. I always ask at the end of my appointments if they feel comfortable moving forward and have the tools that they need to succeed. And the responses I get are always so heartwarming. That's phenomenal, that you bring that up because a lot of times we go, 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 go. And even with our kids, even with our students, we'll just say what we say and then we just assume, and I hate to say that word, but we do. We assume that they receive that information, right? That what we said just locked in because we're brilliant and we know what we're talking about. So of course they're going to listen to us. Yeah, so that doesn't always happen. So to reiterate and have that reflective moment, like, what did you hear me say? So, okay, now that I shared that, can you please share with me what you're going to do now? Or how are you going to use that? Those reflective moments and strategies really do help solidify what we're trying to implement as well as their comprehension in that. And I know I'm guilty of forgetting that all the time because, especially with my own kids, I'm like, go do what I said. Oh, wait, did they even hear me? Oh, no, they have earbuds in. Why would they hear me? Things like that. And then we'll finish with Alice. She said, when I met the clinical students, just allowing them to voice anything they wish and really listen to them. Sometimes it's not even related to their coursework. They appreciate just the time to take to hear them. And you know what, Alice, that's with everybody. I think just being able to be heard a lot of times, um, when I have anybody at this point in my life that talks to me, I always take a moment. It's like, how would you like me to receive this? Do you want me to just listen? Do you want me to help you in this situation, like provide practical solutions? Or am I listening in agreement and, I'm taking your stance like, yeah, we don't like them type of thing, right? Like somebody cut me off. We don't like that person that cut you off. Like, where would you like me to support you in this? Because many times those of us in our field, I call nurturing field because we're always taking care of others. We tend to want to overstep and do for instead of just be. And so those are things that we definitely have to refocus ourselves on. It's hard though. It's hard because, this old dog here is hard to change some of my practices. So thank you so much. See, so this is what I wanted us to be able to interact and really share because learning is part of that. So in that, there's models of reflective practices, right? Some of you may know this, some of you may not. I know when I was creating this and doing my research, I learned the fact that there's certain things that we naturally do, but I didn't know that there was like a specific name to it in that sense. So we're going to get into these models. Here's Gibbs reflective cycle first, my little chat box. And Gibbs' reflective cycle was designed to give structure to learning from experiences. It offers a framework for examining experiences, and given its cyclic, that word, cyclic, that's it, cyclic nature, lends itself particularly well to repeated experiences, allowing you to learn and plan from things that either went well or didn't go so well. So here's the circle of Gibbs' reflective cycle, right? So you have this. Now, in my mind, it would go all in order. Like, what happened? What am I? It would go in that order in my mind. However, I also have been in my mind before, and it doesn't always go that way when certain things happen, right? So, God forbid, I walk into a wall. Boom. Yes, I've done that. We're not judging. We listen and we don't judge. So in that walk into the wall, that's not going to work, right? So depending on the situation, I think sometimes this doesn't go in this beautiful circular motion. However, for today's presentation, we're going to pretend that it does. So description, what happened, right? So think of a situation, an event, something small, like I missed the trash comes on Wednesday and I missed it. Man, what happened? Why? How did I forget that? It comes every Wednesday. Feelings and emotions. Well, I'm frustrated, I'm angry. Now my trash is going to overflow. I got to be very mindful about when I'm throwing things out. Um, Me personally, and this is recorded, so I shouldn't say this out loud, but my son will come and he lives in these condos around down the street. So when that happens, because it clearly happens often, he'll come over and I'm like, hey, can you take this and put this in your trash? Because he lives there, he'll just take it there because my trash can's overflowing, right? So my feelings of frustration and well, my evaluation, what worked? I got to start reminding myself more. Maybe I should put a alarm on my phone or on my calendar to remind me. Those are things that we have to do. I can only speak for myself. As I've gotten older, my memory retention is not so good. So I always use my phone calendar because I always have my phone on me. So it'll go, right. Okay, Heather, you said it. So Heather said the power of sticky notes. Growing up, I had a best friend since I was a junior in high school, so that was 30 years ago. Totally fine with numbers. And her mom introduced me to sticky notes. We would walk in, and as you walk in, her the wall would be all glass. And as you get to the corner, based on your height, you had sticky notes on what you had to do. And even though I wasn't her child, that being my best friend, I was her child. So we would both have like our sticky notes would have our name, and she'd place it right at our height level, and we would come in and pick up our sticky notes, and those were our chores for the day. I do have sticky notes in my office all over the place, but I don't carry them around with me. So my sticky note is my phone. However, I did download the sticky notes app. So I have a lot of screensaver sticky notes on my screens. And once I'm done, I get rid of them. So yes, shout out to the sticky notes. Love, love, love them. So when we think about this, though, we have to go around. So evaluation, what happened? I forgot. Let me start doing other things. Evaluation, what didn't work? Well, clearly me remembering just randomly is not going to work. So I have to now use something else. Why did that happen? I'm getting old. Okay, I'm getting old. Conclusion, what have I learned? I need to refocus and not not pay attention to what I'm doing because my attention, I believe I would I would if I was to have seen somebody at a younger age definitely had a little ADHD, ADD, not ADHD, ADD, because my attention deficit is definitely skewed when it comes to things. I know this now at my age, younger, yeah, no, we were just pay attention, stay focused, da da da. So action plan, what will I do now? So this is that whole circle of life. And in this, we naturally do many of these things, as I mentioned earlier. The now we're giving it some power is understanding it better on how we can use it and move forward in that. So the next one now is Brookfield's lens. Oh, my English today. And this is used by educators who want to become more self-aware about how they teach by looking at things from different points of view. This means looking at teaching through the eyes of students, coworkers, and our own life experiences, as well as through the eyes of study and theory in education. This all-around approach helps teachers find possible blind spots, question assumptions, and eventually become better at what they do in the classroom. Now, again, for us teaching online, our classroom looks a little different. However, we can still utilize many of these tools by when we're grading, giving that voice feedback. I'm not big on the video feedback, but if I'm grading, I'll record, like, I really love this point that you did. You're doing a great job. Not so much as to analyze their work, but just more encouraging voice memos when I'm posting their grades, as well as how nice is that to get your paper? Because if I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how thoroughly everybody's reading the comments. So to have that voice memo, just a quick synopsis, no more than a minute, just to let them have that, it gives that real life point to us that we're not just some AI generated AI generated professor, right? So here from Brookfield, we have the scholarship. How does it inform your practice, beliefs, experiences? Um, and those types of things. Self and teacher, what are your beliefs about teaching? What did you experience? What do you think worked? What didn't? That's huge. Those two things are huge because I know for myself, I grew up in a way that if somebody told me I couldn't do it, I felt challenged. I was like, okay, cool, I got you. You said I couldn't. Let me show you better. I can show you better than I could tell you. And in that, through my educational journey, I didn't really have that teacher that really like poured and believed into me until I was my freshman year in college. And Professor Nelson, actually, he's still my mentor to this day. He's the one that did. It wasn't until my freshman year in college. So I get now why I'm where I'm at because they always say where you landed in your career is because you're there to be that adult you needed when you were in that position. And so for me, that's what that is. Logan said, I love voice member and quick video caps, videos help. Yes, those voice things are phenomenal. Peer and colleagues, what do you want to know? How do you want to explore your teaching? Invite feedback. So not only should you invite feedback, but you got to receive it because feedback is there to help you analyze those things that you could possibly work on. Like I know I'm landing planes every time I talk. So I try to keep my hands down and be a little bit more comfortable and casual when I do presentations. So, and I've received that from feedback. So we definitely have to do that in our practices, whether it's teaching, things like that. I want to start incorporating. I'm working with creating a survey to for myself. I know the universities have their own, but just for my students to see how could I do better? What could I have done that could have helped this particular class a little better? Just 3 questions. I'm not trying to be too generous because I don't want to, give too much, but I just really like what are things I could have done that could have helped you better? And those types of things. So that's something I'm working on that I want to do. Again, self-reflective practices, because in online courses, it is difficult to really grasp if you're hitting everything that they need. Because as adult workers, they're in their life, their, parents, relationship, careers, you want to be able to support them the best that we can. And then students, again, this leads into that. Invite feedback from my students, establishing a routine or simple system, what works and what doesn't. And that's one of the things I'm really going to start getting into. Let's go to the next one. Oh, thank you, Logan. She agrees. I have found that students are more receptive versus resistance to feedback when it is delivered with compassionate words. Yes, absolutely. And I'm also thinking instead of it just being like have the link for a survey, but create like a quick little video where it's the face and they hear the tone and it's not so like aggressive. Because when you're reading things, it can always be received differently. So I have been okay. Oh, let me go back. So I have been thinking about doing it that way. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay, so now back to you guys. Ready? Call and response here. Which lens is most natural for you, and which one do you avoid? So are you a Gibbs reflective cycle? Are you Brooks Field lens, or are you a nice combination depending on the situation and circumstance? I'm a nice combination depending on situation and circumstance. The Brooksfield lens is more for my experience, career oriented, right? I take that time as a whole and it's more family. I look at things as that. Gibbs is more instantaneous. I can do that more instantly on small day-to-day things. Linda said, I think I'm a combination too. Yes, depending on the situation. I think that's clear. Yeah, Heather, I would say depends. Gibbs is more personal life. Brooks, right? It is. Now, I will tell you, Heather, because my children are grown adults now, I try to get out of the mindset of like, oh, these are my babies, because they are still my babies. But I have to remember these are grown men. So I want to approach them in that professional way that they want to receive, while also still being their mother, right? So just provide that for them. Now, when they're sick and they don't feel well, yes, come, you're my baby. I'll take care of you. But outside of that, yeah, I think it'll be more that way. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. So now we're going to get into a little bit of understanding this, like the roles, like what does that look like in higher education? We are definitely at an advantage where we have grace. We have the grace that the average K-12 classroom teacher does not have, but we also have obligations. Let me just say that. So obligations to ourselves and to the students as well. So there's a happy balance that we have to do because our students want to be here. They want to extend their knowledge and their educational journey that they chose to be on. K-12 students, it's a law. You got to be here to this age, right? So the approach can be different as well as the, what's the word I'm looking for? The participation in that. So the role of care in higher education, moving beyond content delivery to connect and community, right? Sorry, my English. The intersection of care and equity. Equality is great. I think it's a great term. I think it works when you have kids and you have candy. Like everybody gets an equal piece. I don't want to hear nothing from it. What I love about equity in education is it gives everybody their moment to let their personality shine. And that allows us as that person in the driver's seat cater to that. And I love that piece about equity because I can't treat everybody the same. I can be kind, I can be generous, I can be gentle and humorous, and that's kind of universal. But I always love to give that personal touch. And I always think about when you go out to eat, do you want all the people the service staff to wait on you the exact same? Like, oh, here's your food, here's your napkin, here's your fork. Or would you love that personal touch that they give to each of their um, clients, let's say, when they approach that person? Because everybody has a different need. So that's what I love, that equity piece of it. Emotional labor of teaching, recognition, boundary setting, and compassion. It is definitely one of those moments where we go, 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 and we don't understand or realize or take time to see the impact until some random student emails us and says something to the effect of like, oh my gosh, you've made a big impact on myself, my wife, and my children. It's like, wow, I didn't know I expanded that far. I just thought I gave you an extension for a day and that was okay. You don't realize how that one thing can really expand. So in that, think about the last time, whether it's in your personal life or in the classroom, in your class, How do you model care in your classroom space, your classroom or your space? And while you're typing that in the chat, I can share the last class, one of my students was moving, and clearly the due date is, Sunday midnight, but they're moving over the weekend. So they had asked, I think it was like maybe week 3 or 4, they had mentioned that they were moving. They didn't ask for an extension, they just mentioned they were moving. And so, of course, if you think about, if you're moving, you have to transfer internet, you have to do this, just a bunch of stuff. And so please don't get mad at me, and I know this is recorded. I suggested and gave them an extension on that assignment that week, because for me, I could not in my right mind say, oh, well, I don't care if you're moving, that's still due at midnight, because this is life, right? These are grown working adults, and we have to be able to support them, also model the compassion we would expect them to give moving forward. So I had offered an extension, and they just sent me back at a crying emoji. And I know it's kind of 2025-ish, but that meant the world to me, because I know that mattered to them, that they weren't even thinking, or they may not have had the courage to ask, but I was able to do that. And again, this is all virtual. So then, I gave them, what did I'm not going to tell, but I gave them an extension for that assignment so that they could move, get their internet situated, sit down for a second for themselves, and then get into the work, because I would rather quality work be a day or two late than them throw some random stuff together and then get a horrible grade on top of that, right? So just that balance and understanding, but also that demonstration and modeling for our students. Now, granted, this is online. There was no face-to-face, no voice memos even with this. This was strictly via email, but it still made a difference based off the tone, based off of the correct wording, and the suggestion for them that they didn't even think that they would ask or wanted. So those are the things that we can do, or that I've done, to model care in my classroom and in that space recently. Anybody else? Yes. Providing care through using the name the student prefers to be called. That's huge. That's really huge. As well as, I know I also ask name and preferred pronouns, because that's just, I've been, again, like many of you, we've been in this education field for over 20 years. I'm going to respect and provide that level of courtesy to my students, my colleagues, whomever. If I don't know, I will ask for forgiveness, because I should have asked, but I didn't. And those are the types of things that I feel I'm personally responsible as the person in my presence, as far as my role in their life. Responding to questions, concerns, in a timely manner, being available. Yes, that's huge. Those instructor, I think I'm more prone to pay attention to those. I'll get to the discussion questions when I'm supposed to. I'm not going to lie, because we know that they post sporadically. But like, those questions are very important to me. And I even try to be proactive in those questions as far as what they need for the week, right? To post that whole outline for the week, and it drops every Monday night at midnight at 11:59. Actually, I set it up on the timer, and it just goes through every module week, gives all the information, make sure all the resources are up to date, the links are there. So then that way it's there. Yes, they can go through the class, but they have it right there when they first sign in to open up the class. It's there. And those little nuggets, for me, help me to support them in ways that I don't think they realized that they needed at that time. And that's another point that we need to make sure that we're able to do for them. So great. Thank you so much, Jessica. That was phenomenal. Okay. So we talk about this. You've heard about this a lot. People are like, oh, mindfulness is a new buzzword. It's really not. It's just new to some people, many people, or it's more socially accepted. That's what I tend to think more so. It's to be present, not non-judgmental awareness. Okay. Non-judgmental, but we naturally judge. So the contradictory in that statement is adorable for me, because we always judge. I mean, you don't wake up in the morning without judging how you look, what you're wearing. We judge ourselves, we judge others, but there's a point that we can shift it, right? And just because you may be judgmental or have discernment, what it means is just you're just opening yourself up to various avenues of problem solving, is how I like to look at it. But non-judgmental, meaning like, oh, that was wrong. Or one of my biggest pet peeves is when somebody's like, oh, that was a stupid question. There is no such thing as a stupid question. Now, your timing might be off, but there's no such thing as a stupid question in my heart. Um, and in my mind, that's just where I live. But now timing is everything. Being able to read the room, got it. But questions, no, it's your inquisitive abilities is far beyond what anybody could ever share. Evidence-based benefits reduces anxiety, improves focus, enhances empathy. Amen to that, because I know I need all that. Not about perfection, it's about practice, right? Practice makes perfection, and then we are all perfectly imperfect. So it's just this beautiful roll on things. So how does this work? Mindfulness for educators. Oh, no, I lied. We're doing an exercise now. Okay. So everybody's going to sit up. Let me make sure I have my sound going. Okay. Oh, sorry. Let me share my sound really quick. Share computer sound. Okay. Breathe, sit up, 60 seconds. So I will share that this is something, whether you have this app or you just are by yourself or whatever it is. This is an app, actually. This is from YouTube. But every so often before, because when you're sitting at a computer, you get the tension here. You have a moment. It's always good to just take a second to breathe. So let's do this activity really quick. 60 seconds mindful breath. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. That's it. Those 60 seconds. What I do when I'm able to, if I'm in the classroom, what I'll do is if because I'll teach online and I teach in person. So my in-person classes, I run from anywhere from 50 to 35 to like 60 students, give or take the course. So lecture, have them do some small breakout activities because there's a lot of them, right? I'll turn around for a second, act like I'm looking in my bag for something, and I just have my little 60-second inhale, exhale moment, right? If I'm driving, I'm stopped at the red light. Inhale, exhale. Here in Arizona, I got to do that at every red light because it's Arizona drivers. If you know, you know. Every red light, I'll stop and do that. You just have to take those moments to do that because that oxygen to the brain to release that. And sometimes you don't even know that you need it. That's the crazy part about it. You don't even know that you need it, but you need it. I promise you. I promise you do. So, having said that, now we're talking about mindfulness for educators. Start class with a purpose or a centering moment. What does that look like? How do you start your class from day one to the end of module 8? Every week, what are you doing? How are you doing? Are you pre-programming weekly posts? Or are you doing something positive? In between, are you posting an encouraging quote, video? I'm a sucker for a good TED Talk. Listen, I love me a good TED Talk. So does all that work in there? Is it more class informational, or do you also add that little personal touch in there? I don't know. Those are things to think about for yourself. Use transition rituals between meetings and grading, or all of it. I know we can be very robotic. We'll have our meetings, and afterwards, since we're sitting down at the computer, we're like, oh, let me just knock this grading out. Let me get this going. And then you're just stuck in this cycle. Well, where's your transitions? Where's your stretching? I know I have in my office some things, some exercise equipment, like an exercise ball and something else, these little stretchy bands. So in between like meetings or classes or grading, I'll grade a class and then I'll stop and then I'll go do like a couple stretching exercises or some chair yoga and then I'll go back just to balance that out, right? Because you can't get stuck in that rut. Build small habits, breathing, stretching, brief gratitude journaling. And we'll get to that in a second because I have a few suggestions for that. So, what mindfulness habit could you fit into your day? Here's a fun fact. What are you doing that you didn't realize could possibly be a mindfulness habit that you already do in your daily habit? I do the breathing, I do the exercising when I'm in the office. Then I've also incorporated going to the gym. That has been my other thing that I've set out, carved out in my schedule 4 to 5 times a week I'm there, whether it's cardio, whether it's that, and I picked the gym furthest from my house to show that dedication. So now I have that car ride there, then I have the car ride back. I like to share with people that during my car ride, I feel like I'm in a studio session in some type of musical studio session. So if anybody calls me, I'm like, man, I'm in the booth. Why are you calling me? I'm in my session because it's my car concert. I'm got all my son was blessed me with Spotify and have all my fun playlists and I just go and to have that extended time there and back is just more pouring into my cup, right? Um, I believe it's Micah. Please forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Hot tea breaks twice per day is my. Ooh, no music, just hot tea. Put a chunk of ginger in there. Oh, I love that. Thank you. Logan, I found that taking 5 minutes to snuggle, play ball, take a walk with my sweet pups, all helps me slow down and reset my brain. Yeah, see, and it's so interesting how it's just that. It's not. Some people will give you the impression that you need to take these long extension period. No, couple minutes. You don't need much. Just a couple minutes. Okay. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's amazing. So blending reflective and care and mindfulness, interconnected tools for holistic well-being, sorry, Freudian slip there, leads to authentic teaching, deeper student relationships, and professional clarity, encourages a values of aligned teaching for life, right? So what does this look like for us moving forward? So teaching with intention. So this is going to be a short breakout activity, but I'm going to, yes, it'll be a short breakout activity. And in there, let me create the groups. You are going to, should be about 3 people per group. And what we're going to do is you're going to share a moment when you felt especially grounded or misaligned, because both need to be acknowledged, right? We can always talk about the positive things that we've done, but now it's time to talk about some other things. What contributed to that feeling? How did it affect your students or you? And then you'll have a couple minutes. I want to say maybe 5, maybe a little bit less to share and 2 minutes to reflect. So if you can maybe do 2 minutes each and then share out. Afterward, one group member is going to type a keyword in the chat that captures your group's thing. Period. You can share. So that one word that captures your group's theme, then we'll discuss that briefly. Like, what is your word? And the reason we're doing this on a timed thing is because, like all things, timing, it doesn't take a lot to just stop and do that, right? So let me put you in your groups. I have 3 people per group. I'm going to open them starting now. If somebody wants to take a picture, this is why you have your cell phones out. Take a picture of this screen so you know what you're doing in there because the screen doesn't go with you when you go. And give me a thumbs up if you've taken your picture of this screen so I can shoo you along to your groups really quick. Yes, perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, Let me send you along. All right. I had to record it back. I didn't think they wanted all that time of just me. Okay, so in your groups, hopefully you were able to share some. So now if one person, flexibility, thank you, Lauren. Okay, you have any little background on that? Like flexibility, there's that self-explanatory. I
So
think.
the instructor who was in the group with myself, she
Uh-huh.
had talked about an experience where she went into a classroom and was providing information that wasn't necessarily pertinent, but she was able to take that opportunity and really be beneficial to our students at that time, but it required flexibility. And I
Mhm.
myself, as an immersion instructor, have to be able to feel what it is my students will most benefit from. And
Mhm.
sometimes that means being able to, just like the other colleague in the group had said, read the room and really see where
Right.
you can be beneficial.
I love that. Thank you so much. Donna said authenticity. I mean, that's like the mic drop, right? Like, just be honest. Intentionality, again, you know what I love about this is while they're great, it's like, yeah, and you need to be intentional. You need to be authentic. You need to be flexible because in the interim, like, we want that too. We want that understanding and we want that given to us. So I love that. Oh, these are phenomenal. And that was my, yeah. Okay. So let me see. Do I have any more? Okay. Intentionality. So now, well, we did that. Do you see all this stuff going on in our brain now? You see how this works? So take 1 second, I said minute, but 1 second to reflect on someone or something in your teaching life you're grateful for. Because if you're genuinely grateful for somebody, you don't need a whole minute. You already know who they are. And share one word in the chat describing that person. One word in the chat that makes that person, because that person impacted you on who you are today. Wise. I like that. I like that. Because a lot of people look to us to be the wise people, right? And it's like, I'm wise in this area. There's plenty others that I'm clueless on. Don't you worry about that. Inspiring. I love that. Special. Grateful for Dr. Bradley and Dr. Mukins. Sorry, guiding me through my DBA program and lifting me up when I struggled. Oh, consistent. Empathetic. Love that. Trusting. Oof. These should all be bumper stickers, right? Are you or I am one of those things. Oh, I love that. So good, so good. Dedicated would be one of mine if I was to really think about it. So in that, hold on, I forgot to do that. Deep breath in, hold, exhale slowly. As we go through this day, know that whatever word you put in there, encouraging. that is something that you embody because it meant so much to you from them to do that for you in your life. So now you're embodying that as you move forward. So just know that you carry that through, and I want you to continue to carry that through your day and everything that you do in your teaching. So, how are we going to create your grounding plan, right? You're going to identify these three things: reflection habit, mindful habit, and caring action. And all of that goes into yourself and you for your students and your family and those in your life. So, I have this for you. And I made an adjustment. I was sharing with Linda earlier. I have the thing, the apps there, but I was like, well, I know how I am in the app store. I need a picture. I need to make sure I'm getting the right one. So, building a personal reflective routine, weekly reflective questions, 3 to 5 minutes. What went well? What challenged me? What did I learn? So, how can you do this? This app, Gratitude, does this for you. All of these apps, first and foremost, you can set up on different times that you want them to notify you to remind you to do certain things. I have all of them because that's where my brain is at. And I have them set up at different times of the day to help me with that. So, like, I think it's my calm pops up at the times that I'm driving. So, right when I get in the car, I take that moment to take some deep breaths and things like that. But the gratitude one, you can have daily journal entries. You can create your own, or you can just go with what they provide for you. And you can set these timers and notifications appropriately, right? So you have audio memos, voice notes, and so you have gratitude. Self is also a great one. Headspace. I don't know. They do reminders. I don't know if they give you feedback 100% because I use it more as a self-reflective thing. Maybe they have that feature. I also get the free features. Kind of budgeting right now. So everything, all of these, I just use the free component of them. I don't pay for it. Maybe if you paid for it, it would provide that extra piece that you're looking for, but I'm a free version type of client. So I will share that part, but they're all phenomenal. They're all phenomenal, right? So I'm so glad. Thank you. They're great little things to help you in your daily routine. And I mentioned earlier, like I'm forgetful. So because I set the notifications, it reminds me. And you can, of course, if you want to get a little savvy, you can change the tone. So when it pops up on your phone, it's not super aggressive or whatever the case may be, but you can align it to your needs and your schedule. Choose a consistent day and time to anchor those habits. So you have to figure out your schedule, sit down, what works, what doesn't, how can I incorporate this the right way? So let me make this a little bit bigger if you want to take a picture of these. That way you have what the actual app looks like when you go to your app store, and then that way you can get that accordingly. So those are them. Perfect. And so then closing reflections. Life and teaching are both intellectual and emotional labors of love. They are. You deserve practices that sustain your whole self, and reflection, care, and mindfulness are not luxuries, they're non negotiable foundations. And we have to lead with that premise always for ourselves because our cup is full for us. The overflow is what we give to others. And we have to start remembering that because there was a time where we were taught the opposite. Like nobody talked about the overflow. They just said, oh, your cup is overflowing. Yeah, okay, well, the overflow is for what y'all get. I'm keeping what's in my cup for me. Selfless, not selfish. It's being selfless. So thank you for your time, your energy, and all of your presence and your call and respond with me. I'll leave you with we are grounded, we grow. When we are grounded, we grow. When we care for ourselves, we can truly show up for others. Casey Phillips. And then also now, any questions? We have a couple minutes for questions. Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, thank
Oh,
you. This was great.
thank you. I love it. This is really a labor of love for me. And it's not even a labor, it's just a love of mine because I want us to really be able to stop and take that moment because of what we do is unfortunately, it is a thankless. There's only a few careers that are thankless, and unfortunately, the education field is one. And so we don't get to see a lot of what we do. So we have to almost encourage ourselves in that. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate that. Any questions or anybody want to
I
share?
don't see any questions in the chat.
No, I don't see any either. I was looking too.
All right. Well, have a great day, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Thank you guys so much.